Welcome to the Breeder's Brew, dog breeding podcast hosted by me, Isobel, the canine nutrition coach.
And me, Sara, the canine family planner.
Together, we'll be promoting responsible breeding by unpicking the minefield of breeding myths and methods for owners wishing to expand their whelping wisdom. Hello, and welcome back. Back for another day.
Another day in paradise. We are day 7 of the 12 days of Christmas, which also happens to be New Year's Eve.
It does indeed. If you're listening live, Happy New Year's Eve. Last day of 2025.
Yeah, what a crazy year it's been.
Oh, hasn't it just? It's been insane. There's been a lot of lessons, a lot of challenges, a lot of positive movement forward, a lot of very interesting conversations and reflections as well.
Yeah, I think that after COVID years, we thought life would settle down.
Yeah.
But no, it hasn't. It's just carried on being as crazy as ever. Lots of changes. I think nowadays you have to be just very adaptable with just the constant changes that's happened and will happen. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And it's so important not only to be adaptable, but I think to be able to sit back and reflect on why we do things the way we do things, why we think that things are the way they are, why we accept societal norms. I don't know about you, but I've had a lot of downtime this Christmas to sit back and think, oh, why am I doing this? Like, why am I doing that? What New Year's resolutions do I actually need to consider this year? Because we get too used to just living life on this hamster wheel and just doing things the way we've always done them because it's less stress, it's less friction. There are a lot of us that do keep learning and do keep tweaking as we go, but actually we should take time to stop and just question. We lose that ability to stop and go, why, as soon as we hit adulthood. But that's the whole purpose of a child, is they run around and say, well, why, mum, why do we do that? Why is that the way we do that? Why do we eat this for breakfast? Why do we go to the doctors for this? The why is so powerful for children, yet I think a lot of us lose that ability in adulthood, and I think it's really important to get that back. Stop and say why a bit more.
Or just learning what other people do helps you naturally discover other people's whys. I mean, even to think that we have breakfast food, we have food designated for breakfast. And in some cultures, they're like, food's food.
Honestly, that was one of my cracker riddles. It was, what are 2 things you can never eat for breakfast?
Well, I don't know. I want to say
Lunch and
shepherd's
dinner.
pie.
Lunch and dinner.
There's we go, shepherd's pie and cottage pie.
That would totally be a thing in the UK, but there's definitely people out there that have done that. Not saying I have, but could I be tempted? Yes, probably. So it's going to show we have specific foods. That's why we've got like, what can't you eat at breakfast, lunch and dinner? It's just
but
funny,
it's crazy to think.
Why?
And in other
Balanced
cultures,
meal's a balanced meal.
Yeah, well, we're sold that, this will give you energy throughout the day. No, just eat some decent food when your body's hungry, and it doesn't really matter what it is, and it will do that same job. It is ridiculous when you think about it that we've been programmed that way. And if that's something that we've been programmed from year dot, what are all the other things that we've subconsciously been programmed to think? And then it's good, as you say, the internet opened our eyes up to possibly what other people are doing, like forums and all that kind of stuff. And obviously in niches that you can go into, like a dog breeding niche, and go, okay, how are they rearing their pups to how I'm rearing my pups? What are they feeding compared to what I'm feeding? What's their climate compared to my climates? But I think it's good to look at what other people are doing and then decide for yourself, and not even necessarily other people, what you've been told from above. I guess it's from above, from your peers, from the side as well. And try and get a holistic view, and then decide what's right for you and your dogs, and then maybe set some improvements and work out how you're going to do that. But it's really hard because life's really busy.
Yeah, it is.
Actually taking time to stop and contemplate and think about what you're doing, whether it's right or wrong or not, all takes a lot of mental energy, which is why most people don't do it.
I think that's why this downtime period that most of us experience in one way or another between end of year and the beginning of another is such a good time to actually sit back and reflect, ask why, do a bit of research, listen to some other people's views, have your brain stretched a little bit, take this opportunity to mix things up.
We choose suitability over convenience. Just because something is convenient does not make it right. I saw somebody post on Facebook today their hack for making puppy porridge is that they blend the kibble into powder.
Yeah. I've heard of the blending thing before, but I'd never thought about it in terms of having it like as a pre-made sack.
Yeah, they've literally... People are like, why don't you just feed raw? Because the new owners changed the food straight away. Well, then you're not explaining to them enough why you're doing what you're doing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think any new owner wouldn't buy a puppy. Most of them don't even think about to ask what food they're on.
No, people don't, because they don't realise they should. So you as a breeder should be teaching them that.
Yeah, so, but what I'm saying is, if you reared a puppy on raw, they wouldn't not buy that puppy because they're probably not going to know it's on raw until they pick it up.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, they're not going to look at it negatively. Yes. And as I say, there's loads of studies coming out that actually the better quality and least ultra processed food that goes in a mammal's gut throughout weaning, the stronger that gut microbiome is for the lifetime of that mammal, which is the same with humans, which is why there's loads of studies and loads of work from the government and everything about how to wean your babies on homemade food and not ultra processed baby food. And it's all to do with the fact that it sets up the gut to be less problematic in future. So our NHS will have to spend less on that baby throughout his lifetime if it's set up with a better gut bacteria to start with, which I just think is fascinating. So we're acknowledging it with humans, but yet somehow that's not, again, people have this really weird inability to infer knowledge from what we know as humans, like we're saying. You do lessons on sex ed, you understand how a baby's made, but yet people forget, like, still got to go through that stage to make puppies.
Do they know,
and I
though?
just think it's that, I don't know. If they went to sex ed at school, they would have done PSHE. But it's that, I feel like it's that same thing. And the same as, fertility isn't guaranteed. I've got friends that have never been on contraceptives in their 20s because they are already aware of the fact that they feel they are going to have fertility issues. So I've got friends that aren't even of childbearing age that are already aware of fertility status, is what I'm trying to say. Yet again, when it comes to dogs, people are like, oh, well, of course I'll be fertile. Like, I had a conversation with a bitch owner the other day, so I didn't tell you about this. Anyway, he was like, oh, so I'll bring her on day 14 then. What? And he was like, yeah, so I'll bring it to you on day 14. And I was like, this isn't how this works. Like, yes, you've done my vetting form, but like, we've got to have a bit more of a conversation first. And secondly, like, why do you think it's day 14? Oh, well, because I used to breed Dogo Bordeaux and Bulldogs, and then we got to the bottom of it and he had 1 litter from each. But
at the time you go, I'm not a breeder.
Yeah.
So it depends who you're trying to impress. Because at the time you would have gone, I'm not a breeder. I'm just
having a litter because we're keeping one. But yeah, it was, I used to read Dogo Bordeaux and Bulldogs. I was like, oh, brilliant. Well, you'll know. And then I said to him, I was like, brilliant. Well, you'll know all about it then. So I'm assuming you've ovulation tested and that's why you're telling me day 14. No, that's when everyone said you used to take them. Yeah, no, Dachshunds, there are breed quirks. And if you're not ovulation testing, I wouldn't just pick day 14 necessarily. There's other ways of checking you can get your dates right. But I just thought it was fascinating that it was assumed that this dog would be fertile, that this dog would be receptive for mating and fertile on day 14.
Well,
where's this assumption coming from? We're not taught in sex ed. Well, funny enough, you'll never guess the conversation we had on Boxing Day with my family, Sara.
Fertility status.
One of our dogs was in season over Christmas, so we were juggling stair gates and all sorts to keep everyone separate. And we had family over. So the conversation was, can you please explain to my dad, like, what dog season is? Because he can't comprehend, like, why we're having to be careful about doors and stuff. And I was like, yeah, sure I can. Like, doesn't bother me. I'll talk to anyone about anything. Started having this conversation. He went, well, that's fine, because he won't mate her while she's on her period, will he? I went, yeah, no, that's not how, like, this works. They're dog people, like, they've had dogs. And the conversation was, well, humans can't get pregnant on their period, so why would a dog? And dogs don't mate when they're not receptive, so he's not going to mate her while she's bleeding. So, like, why are we being so careful about dogs? Like, and it was like, well, no. Firstly, humans can get pregnant on their periods, and you should know that as a man. Like, that is really important to know. Women obviously ovulate at different points all throughout their cycle, so it's like this really misinformed, like, again, like this fertility myth, like sex myth. And we were saying before about, like, the number of myths, like, if you do this, you will get an STD and die. We're kind of carrying these myths and applying them to dogs, yet we're not applying other parts of logical human fertility to dogs. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. This is somebody that's a dog person, albeit never bred. But I just found it really fascinating having that conversation. I mean, I'm not sure my cousins were very impressed when I was talking about periods, when they were sat there cringing, but like, wow, well, it's good. We all need a bit of a biology lesson here, clearly, because people can get pregnant on their periods.
But do you think it's because a lot of people, they learn what they believe to be the foundations, and then that stays with them for life? They don't update their knowledge, and obviously they update their knowledge because they're older and they should learn a better understanding, but also B, learn how it's been studied and researched more and how that may have changed what they were taught to what's happening now. And I think that's probably what happens. They're locked in with their 13, 14-year-old understanding, and then that just stays with you forever. Just so you can have as your notes, because I'd literally transferred it from a random bit of paper that I had, in regards to ovulation patterns, but 24% of females ovulate before day 11.
24%. Wow.
50% are the 12 to 14 days. And then 26% is 15 days plus. So just if you're on the phone next time, you can
Sara,
give
interestingly, I've got a massive spreadsheet of everyone that I've dealt with over all the years, ovulation patterns. I've got all of that tracked. So I will have to have a look and actually pull those stats myself as well, because I think it's very accurate. That it makes perfect sense why people say breed between day 11 and 14.
Yeah, because they're trying to catch like
that 50% window. So, well, to be fair, if you bred day 11 and 13 with a fertile dog and your bitch ovulated day 16, should catch. So because you've got that tail of how long the semen lives, so you can see how people go, oh, well, it's the majority. Like if you go in a casino and you've got a 60% chance of winning, that would be pretty good casino odds. So you're going to chuck your money on it. And that's the problem, isn't it? But people forget that if you went into a casino, you had 60% chance of winning or 40% of chance of dying, you wouldn't spin that, would you? Well, I wouldn't. Too much of a risk. Yeah. And I'm not saying obviously your girl dies if she doesn't catch, but like if you've put a lot of effort, I mean, like, we've been supporting a lot of fantastic first-time breeders recently, haven't we, Sara, that have put so much time and effort into selecting like the perfect complementary boys for their girls, getting all of their foundations in place, getting their dream team ready, getting all of these building blocks set up. Like for them, it would be absolutely gut-wrenching if their females didn't catch and they just went for matings on day 11, 13, 12 and 14, and then their girl was in that 40, 50% that doesn't ovulate in that window. Huge financial risk.
Yeah, I think, as you say, people just don't necessarily have the full understanding of fertility, and what they do have is a limited understanding from when they were at school age and they were taught some of the basics. I watched this really interesting documentary. I don't know, it's probably won loads of awards, called The Birth Gap. And it's all to do with, everyone thinks we're overpopulated. Obviously, the demographers, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
They watch the population, and they were saying how birth rate is different to fertility rate, and we should be tracking fertility rate, not birth rate. And anyway, we're in decline basically massively. So, but because the lag of it takes so long, you don't realise it until you're a generation and a half down kind of thing. So it's one of those, but any Western country. But interestingly enough, they're actually seeing a decline in India, even though I think in some areas they've got a birth cap. So they need to stop that ASAP, but say it's the lag that's there. And in Africa, which traditionally, like, you have 7, 8 kids, they're even seeing a decline in Africa. So they're saying, obviously, cultural differences of family expectations, that kind of thing. So it's crazy. But the penny didn't drop with me until they said every couple needs to have at least 2 kids. You have to replace yourself. And then to get it into a positive, then you need 3 kids. And I'd always just thought, well, surely 1 kid is enough because you created the next generation, you've done the job. But anyway, they was pretty much saying that they were trying to work out, why is it decreasing? If we try and remove the people telling you we're overpopulated and that's not true, And it all comes down to the economy and economy shocks. And I was saying, as soon as people don't feel safe in their environment because of they're worried about money, they're worried about this, they're worried about that, not having a job, not being able to buy somewhere, then that's it. And it's so never a true word, is it? So what they're saying that they need to teach kids at school their fertility, because by the time that you feel potentially comfortable and safe, or your fertility is declined, so you have to have kids in your teens. But that's when you don't feel established as a person, because you've not set out the foundations to know that you're going to be able to raise a family and all these kind of things. So they were saying they need to educate kids basically, that like, it's fine, do what you want to do, but just be aware that once you get past this age, and you might see celebrities having babies in their 40s, but no one's telling you what treatments they've gone through, whether they were surrogate, whether they're egg transfers, and they've got the money to spend it or not on fertility treatments. And the chances of them just going, oh yeah, let's have a baby, and then by next month that she's conceived, is particularly low. So they're saying like that gives a false understanding of what fertility is, which is no different to dogs. I think you just go online and you see all these puppies everywhere and you just assume, oh, it must be easy. It's not. I see loads of clients that are struggling with getting dogs pregnant and different breeds, and some of them have done all the things, some of them haven't, so they just need to do a process of elimination.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting to see that basically, in humans, it's something that's totally not biology related is massively impacting populations. And the whole point is that we need young ones, because for the economy to remain stable, I think at the moment, it's something like there's 2 pensioners to every baby.
Well, and this is actually the problem.
It's crazy.
What I think is so interesting about overpopulation / demographics is we are taught that overpopulation is an issue, because also there is so much importance, understandably, on global warming. In fact, I had a fascinating conversation with a astrophysicist over the Christmas period. A very, very, very intelligent young man. And he was actually saying if we carry on at the rate that we're on now, within, I'm sure it was 10 years, our regular temperature plummets are going to be down to minus 20 degrees centigrade in the UK, because we are not counteracting global warming at a speed that is going to reduce the risks quick enough. And actually, global warming has the biggest risk to human life from what he studies at university, which I think is fascinating. Because of that, we know humans are the biggest contributor to global warming. I wonder if there is a wider picture that we are being taught that overpopulation is an issue, and by reducing the population, we reduce the pressure on the environment and planet, so we're going to reduce global warming. So I think a lot of it's come from that angle. However, like you said, Sarah, the minute we have an aging population, there are a lot of countries that do, that in itself brings a huge risk to society, because it causes the economy to collapse. Because if you've got more retirees and you have people in the working population paying taxes, the governments struggle because they haven't got the budgets. But also the issue is, who's caring for that older population? Even the most basic of senses, who are the doctors, who are the nurses, who are the care home staff, who are the cleaning staff, who are the caterers that work in those care homes, or who are the young families that are caring for their parents? Because if those parents haven't had children, those people can't stay at home being cared for by their children. They're going to have to go in nursing homes. But if the nursing homes don't have the staff, because less people of working age, there's plenty of countries around the world that have reported this and been studied over the years that are really struggling because of their ageing population. That's the biggest risk of people not having children, is the fact that it causes naturally an ageing population. So as everyone my age now is deciding not to have children, when we hit 65, we're going to be the widest point on the demographic chart, like in terms of volume. So yeah, it is really interesting. I love all of that stuff. But
well, the interesting thing is, older people tend to feel like they're a burden on society anyway, which is crazy. But like if they're ill, they won't ring the doctors or they won't ring 999. It's ridiculous when they need it the most.
And they've paid taxes their whole life. Like they've done their dues. They've paid, like they've lived in our system. They've worked their bums off. You've paid your taxes your whole life. You are fully entitled to pick up the phone and pester the doctor Because let me tell you, there are people in their 20s pestering the doctor for a chest infection compared to you needing life-saving care. So like, get on the phone. It's so true.
But this program was basically like you had 90-year-olds, they've got no friends or family. And because they got no family basically to look after them or care for them, they just then get really lonely. And then it's a downward spiral anyway. So it's crazy because we're all banging on about how we want to be fit and healthy and live forever. Is like, the whole thing is, are we trying to stop the inevitable? But it's interesting that you were saying about, because I heard somewhere that actually the temperature fluctuations, it's the negative temperatures that we need to be more concerned about, not the positive, because we are, as a race, humans are problem solvers. So thank God there's some clever people in this world. Yeah. If stuff gets too hot, we can still deal with that. But if it gets too cold, like Ice Age, then we're screwed. You can't grow crops if it's too cold. If it's too hot, you can still build shelters. You can still have aircon running to cool this down. But warming up is a whole different scary ball game. So it just makes you wonder if you're trying to stop the...
Well, not to mention the fact weather is linked to fertility. Anyone that's in the farming industry, we know that we've got breeding seasons because when things warm up in spring, that's everyone sees the lambs out in the fields. We have designated breeding seasons for our agricultural animals in the UK, and dogs are no different. We see massive patterns of females coming into season with weather shifts. So global warming is also going to have an impact on our animals' fertility, 100%. And there's no point us trying to pretend that that isn't the case.
But then there's a question of they can grow meat nowadays.
Yeah, very true.
So, but equally, if dogs stop coming into season, we lose the companion element of animals, won't we? Their population will be impacted, and then maybe dogs become super rare, and variety that's available will be less, and then that has an impact on that way. But it's just interesting to see, like you say, there's lessons to be learned from what we're seeing in humans, and just to take some time to step back and think about how is that going to impact our dogs and our breeding behaviours going forward. What difference is it going to make?
Yeah.
I mean, I hear it all the time. People go, oh, I never used to do this years ago. Like, we just chuck two dogs together and they'd be fine.
A lot
Well,
of people
yes.
weren't having IVF years ago.
Yeah.
A couple of decades ago, IVF wasn't as widespread as it is now. I mean, the study of, I sent you the other day, Sara, of the study done on testicles of males, and every single testicle sample contained microplastics. There wasn't a single male's testicle sample that didn't contain microplastics that was studied in this recent trial. And you think, well, yeah, like, I bet that wasn't the case 50 years ago.
No, but even cooking is so different now, isn't it? It's for our dogs, food nutrition is totally different. How we as humans is totally different. When I was younger, and I guess this is post-war, you cooked from scratch. You had seasonal vegetables in. You had to make do with whatever was available. That's what got cooked. And I remember my mum cooking from scratch. Sometimes the most awful of meals: liver and bacon. Bacon pudding or something or other with onion and suet and stuff. Anyway, but old school meals basically that were nutritious, kept you full, got you through the winter.
Non-ultra processed.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was bare ingredients that you put together. Where nowadays, it blows my mind. So naivety, I never realised that sugar was not needed in the human diet at all. My brain had never, and obviously I've been to school and I've looked at those little graphs where they group the vegetables and the meat and the dairy and the this, that, whatever, and the cakes are all together. But I'd never understood our bodies do not need sugar. So why does cane sugar exist? Oh, commercially, that's why it exists, because it's addictive. Yeah.
Yeah.
It tastes nice. Yeah. But okay, so that's fair enough. So when I eat a cake, I know that's bad for me. Everyone knows if you eat a slice of cake, it's not doing you any good. Even if it's carrot cake, it's not doing you any good, or walnut cake. But if I buy a jar of spaghetti sauce, to me, there is no reason why there should be sugar in that.
But there is.
I just think if we're doing that to ourselves, what's in the dog food and what it's doing to our dog is exactly parallel, isn't it? It's crazy.
Of
But
course
they
it
have
is.
less regulations, less. So it's just like you're constantly having to unpick what you're told is. I don't know. I feel like we have a rhetoric of, especially in the UK, it's very much, you can trust us, you can trust us, we're doing it for good. This is like the top tier in the world, everything's certified and approved, and this, the, trust us, trust. And you're like, yeah, no, but we're only trusting you because you're making loads of money out of us. Literally, like, even not even on a farmer level or anything, but just, I just want to buy some spaghetti sauce and then not have 4 tablespoons of sugar in it, unnecessarily amount of basic.
Yeah, if I'm making my own spaghetti sauce, I want to put honey in. Thank you very much for the sweetness. I don't know, don't even get me started on the medicinal mushroom ban in the UK. The fact that we're no longer allowed to buy turkey tails, lion's manes, cordyceps, and everything else. There's now a whole ban coming in that is going to stop us from having the ability to purchase medicinal mushrooms. The intent of this law is to ensure that new exotic or synthetic foods, novel foods is what they're traditionally called in the EU anyway, are proven to be safe before sale. So it's one of those that they're saying there hasn't been enough research on the mushrooms to make sure they're safe. Yet in the UK, traditionally, we have been hunter-gatherers, we have been foragers, and that is how our ancient ancestors were living. We were eating from the ancient woodlands, and it's the ancient woodlands that grow mushrooms naturally. So one would argue that we have had hundreds of years of studying of mushrooms, and that is how we have come to be in the UK, because it would have been a fundamental part of our diets. So they are very readily available in all our woodlands. But it's just the fact that there has been an awful lot of people that have been using said mushrooms to support immune system in particular, and brain health and brain function. So the fact that there is such a strong link between immune boosting of these mushrooms and the fact they've been banned, there's quite a lot of conversation going on around it at the moment, like, oh, so why are we trying to ban these mushrooms that keep people healthy through winter and keep them avoiding the flu? Is it because we want to keep giving people the flu jab? Well, you're allowed to, but you're still allowed to go, you're allowed to grow them, you're allowed to pick them, you're not allowed to sell them, which is what's interesting, because they are getting the tax from the sales. So by stopping them, they're stopping the ability to tax that product, and also, in my eyes, to regulate it. Because if you're now banning that, it's then going to become an unregulated industry in the UK, because there will be people that have been relying on these mushrooms for their health for the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that give their dogs very, very specific types of fungi to support their well-being. And I think there's a lot of people that are going to have to go to alternative locations to get these functional mushrooms that are now being banned, which is really interesting. I just think it's part of the bigger picture. And let me tell you, as I said it in our first original story, there's a very strong reason why I didn't go into big pharma. And the older I get and the more my eyes open, the deeper I go into everything, the more disappointed I am that this is actually the society that I live in, to be honest. I don't want to be on doom and gloom, but yeah, there's a reason I had to turn my back on it. And it's not great.
So what's the lessons that we take away from this? Is
Yes. Oh, well, my actual New Year's resolution, I haven't told you this yet, is I'm going to tell you to hold me accountable, Sarah, for January anyway, at least. I know a lot of people do dry January. I'm not a big drinker anyway, so for me, there's no point. I'd be cutting out a couple of glasses of wine throughout the month or whatever, and it's not an issue I need to worry about. So I'm actually going to try and reduce my ultra process intake throughout January. I'd like to say I'll go ultra process free, but actually I totally appreciate how hard that's going to be. But that is my plan for January, is to challenge myself to eat less ultra processed food, because I think it's going to be so much harder for me than I initially realised, because I think I've got quite a good diet. But actually, when I start thinking, oh no, the hummus that's sat in my fridge, I've purchased from the shop, if that has preservatives in, that's then ultra processed, which then means I'm going to have to make that hummus myself. So it's going to be an interesting month, but that's definitely a huge reflection I've taken away from this Christmas period, and how much I've overindulged and had time to sit back, reflect, research, and just on this whole bigger picture. Not that I'm worried about my fertility status per se, but I try and guide everyone to strip back their dog's diets, lifestyles, environments to ensure that they are as safe as possible. That means reducing ultra processed foods, toxin load, stress load, plastic load. And I'm not doing that myself all the time. So that's my January.
good luck on that one. How am I going to know if you lied to me?
I don't lie. That's
Oh,
why I
okay,
can't
then that's
lie.
fair enough.
I'm not
Well,
one of
not
those people that's got written all over my face. I can't lie.
not even white lies. Not even just a nod or a non-answer.
Well, then that's not an answer, then you can read between the lines. But yes, Ron, I'm sure there will be times when it's unavoidable, if I'm out and about and I'm eating out in a restaurant or whatever. But it's more the fact of that it's just become so societally normalised. Like you said, go out and get a pasta sauce. I mean, even pasta, I was having this conversation. I've got a fabulous Italian in my family, and she was telling me how different our pasta is in the UK to how it's traditionally made in Italy. She was like, yeah, what you're eating isn't pasta here. Like, it's literally like some shitty flour that's not even proper pasta flour mixed with some water and some preservatives. Like, that's not what pasta is. I'd never really sat back to acknowledge how different the pasta I was making was to how I purchased it from the shops. So it's just crazy. Like, and when you strip that back, it's pretty scary. It's same with dog food. And I challenge anyone having a listen. Obviously, cutting out ultra processed foods for yourself and your children, family would be impossible potentially. But maybe challenge yourself to look at your dogs. Even if you increase the amount of fresh food, e.g., completely non ultra processed food in their bowl by 20%, science studies have actually shown that you will improve your dog's well-being. Like 20% is all you need to do in January. So even if you think, oh, I can't make the whole of January, completely fresh for my dog, I've got too many dogs that like too many different things, just aim for 20%. That's literally less than 1 day a week in total. And you'll see positive benefits.
Yeah, well, as with any New Year's resolutions, you just need to do little steps, don't you? Any big steps won't be sustainable. So you just do little steps every day, and that should, get you to the right right area. I did have a mild New Year's resolution of reducing caffeine.
Well, there you go. It's not New Year yet, Sarah. It's not the New Year yet.
Reducing caffeine is like, I just buy a smaller can. Yeah, I will try and reduce my caffeine intake, and I don't even drink hot drinks. Oh God, thank God I don't drink coffee, because that would be a bad thing for me to do.
Be addicted. You turn into a walking coffee jar. But it's true. But again, it's the same thing. Just aim for 20%. Every 1 in 5 times you go to the shop to buy your normal caffeine drink, just think, actually, no, I'm not going to get caffeine. I'm going to go for an sparkling water or something different.
Maybe just have a water instead.
Yeah, 20% improvement's all you're aiming for.
Why is this sparkling? No, I actually quite like water, to be fair. So
I do.
that's not a problem
Sparkling
for me.
water's great.
Not sparkling, so still. Right, okay.
So yeah, New Year's resolutions, I think, is a lovely place to end with you all today. Have a think about what you can do for your dog's lives, and hopefully we've made you have a stop and a think about some lessons that you can take into 2026 with you and apply to your own programs, your own future plans, because actually I don't think any of us take enough time to sit back and reflect sometimes, and we've definitely had time to do it over this holiday break.
Yeah, for sure. I think this time of year is the time where you get a little bit downtime, and it's downtime that everybody's doing. So where if you just have like a week off, everyone else is still running around crazy. So you're trying to still fit into that pace, but everyone sort of calmed down between the Christmas and the New Year. So it does give you time to think about New Year's resolutions. I mean, there's a lot to say that they're rubbish and they don't work, and you should set any changes any time of the year, but we do have this new year, new me mentality. So I totally get it. My 1st of January feels like the time you should be hitting the gym. But yeah, like as we said, just look at something that's already existing in your dog life and think, how can I improve that by 20%? Not even 100%. Don't even need to be doing a total U-turn 360. Just what of a 20% change can I make? And obviously the whole thing with New Year's resolutions is, why are you doing it? So is it to improve my dog's health, make sure they're better condition, lose some weight, improve their fertility, reduce vet bills, whatever that reason might be? Just always understand what your why is, basically, because then you're more likely to stay committed to the actual resolution or promise that you've made to yourself. And obviously the easiest person to lie to is ourselves. So don't lie to yourself either. And the easiest way is not to lie to yourself is not to make an unrealistic commitment. Keep it as realistic as possible. So
Absolutely. On
that's
that
it.
jolly note, we challenge you to a fantastic 2026. Enjoy, everyone. Start as you mean to go on. See you later. Bye.